since my inclusion in A.A. Bronson's School for Young Shamans, that was 2010, it's now 2023, we've seen a massive return of the witch in contemporary culture and contemporary art, and queer witchcraft and queer paganism. These are movements. So I'm hesitant to say that I'm part of that group, because I think I chose to be an artist because I never wanted to be a part of any group. But by association, I'm connected. I still believe it's an ecology rather than a hierarchy. It's an ecosystem, which, as we know, ecosystems have a plurality of different life forms that collaborate to assist each other, and in fact, their success is based on their difference. So I would like to think we've evolved past this hierarchical school model. And I will say, in my travels and in my work, I have experienced that. Well, interestingly, I mentioned earlier that I had been advised that doing spirituality in art was a career killer, so I had, even from the beginning, I had never assumed I would be able to make my living as an artist. I think at first I thought I would have to teach, but then I was very lucky. I have a cousin. A lot of my family are in business or in law, which is actually, to be honest, the dinner table conversations were quite boring for a young creative, but I benefited a great deal from exposure to that when it came time to managing my career as an artist. And my cousin, who's been a massive supporter of my work from the beginning, he said to me, I think I must have been 20, he said, the best thing you can do to ensure your economic survival is diversify your skill sets. Make sure that you're employable in multiple ways. He even said, don't rely on arts funding, because the baby boomers are going to grow up while you're evolving, and you can count on arts funding going down more and more. So I, again, having planned to not be popular and having a bit of a business sense, I followed his advice. I mean, I taught here, I teach, but I also work as a project manager. That's what, I mean, any artist that's working with teams of people has to learn how to be a project manager. So as soon as you have a bit of experience with that in your art project, you can apply for jobs as a project manager. And, you know, I've always had that as a necessary if I need. I also try and work with other artists on other projects. I do have a series of skills that can be used when you get a big grant or you get a scholarship or something. You have a few years that you can just do your work. Luckily enough, I had enough people in my family say, yeah, that's when you're saving. You're not using all of that to celebrate in the orgy of success. And a lot of artists get trapped in that. It's kind of like winning at the casino, and then the next thing you know, you're back to bottom again. So, you know, it's, to be honest, being an artist, even though it might look passionate and dramatic, and you have some excuses to kind of be unconventional, it also requires enormous discipline, strategy, planning. And, you know, in the art world, projects are planned years in advance. I'm scheduled all the way up till late 2025. And there are points where I would love to think, oh, wouldn't it be nice to have 6 months to just work on something without having to do all these other projects? But at the same time, I don't think I have that luxury. I am not independently wealthy, and I have an intentionally anti-commercial practice. I don't want my art to generate money. I want to be paid a fee like any other worker for what I provide, and I'm not interested in selling things for exorbitant amounts of money to people that are going to keep my art in castles that only few people can see. So I've accepted that in order to live this way, I have to plan, map things out, plan A, B, C, D, E, all the way to Z. You have to have in your backpack, and you have to be willing to accept not, oh shit, I don't have any money. how shitty to be an artist. Instead, you have to say, okay, in this period, I'm only drawing because drawing doesn't cost a lot of money, and adapt and work with it. And that's the thing I think when I talk about an ecology. I think an art practice, a practice, is something you strive to do every day. Some days it's harder to get up and sit and meditate than others, but the trick is you do it every day. So again, I've been lucky. Performance doesn't make a lot of money, but then you do also get to travel. So like there are benefits to the instability, and I will say actually when COVID hit, and so many non-artists were struggling so greatly because they relied on external structures to govern their time, their life. I know a lot of artists suffered too. It was a complex time, but in a way I felt like artists were almost a little bit better trained to handle that because we have to live like that all the time. So again, when I say it's a practice, I perceive of it as a spiritual practice. I don't want to decide for anyone else what their art practice is, but in a broad sense, I think that's what a spiritual practice is. It's a commitment to an abstract idea that you do every day. And the only thing I would say in terms of making a living and having this be sustainable, like anything, like if you want to go camping for 2 weeks, you have to plan. Otherwise, you might not have enough food. A bear might eat your food. You need provisions. The same thing goes for being an artist. Well, as I say, I'm scheduled for the next 5 years, so I won't go through the whole Rolodex, but literally right after the show, I traveled to Korea to plan a project for 2025. That's a really exciting project because I only recently learned that a third of Koreans are Christian. I didn't know that. And so there's many, many churches. And there's a gallery that used to be a church, and it's called This Is Not a Church. And we're looking at me doing a ritual performance there and creating a temple in a church. And also gay rights are a huge issue in Korea right now. Pride, like people were attacked at Pride Parade, and so we're gonna try and schedule this event for Pride in 2025. So that is a really exciting one because I get to go to Korea to meet with the team and an artist that I will collaborate with and a curator. And then I'll plan to return in 2025 to build my temple. I'll just summarize a few. The next major projects, continuing a VR temple, but I'm actually making a temple complex. So there will be several rooms that you can enter in virtual reality and engage with my religion in different media, and using different strategies. I was raised Jewish. I'm working on a project with a writer and a musician where we are rewriting a series of Jewish psalms, but changing God to a woman. And then I will sing them potentially in religious spaces. And I'm working on my graphic novel, which is my Bible, which is, it's Tolkien-esque in scope. So you know how thick Lord of the Rings is. If I live long enough, I would like my Bible to be that thick and deep because I've created this entire mythology. So that's why I said, I even brought up like, I romanticize the idea of 6 months to just make art. Like, if possible, in the next 5 years, I'll secure either 6 months or a year to just make my Bible. And that's my promised land, actually.